It's the eCommerce Master Plan podcast. Here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello, welcome to the latest eCommerce Master Plan podcast episode. I'm Chloe and it's very cool to have so many of you now out there listening. In today's episode, we're looking at big business e-commerce. 9-figure turnover business is what we've got on the show today. And we're going to be diving into how they go about running the business and approaching the various challenges and structuring it all. Even if you haven't even started your e-commerce business yet, there's lots you can learn and implement from my chat with Nick. And there's going to be kind of lots of aspirational elements to it as well. So I hope you enjoy. Before we dive into that, please do check out our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes. Shipping and mailing from your desk has never been simpler than with SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes. With SendPro Online, it's just click, send and save for as low as $4.99. That's $4.99 a month. Try it free for 30 days and get a free £10 scale when you visit pb.com/masterplan. That's pb.com/masterplan. FreeUp makes hiring online simpler for e-commerce businesses. They pre-vet thousands of virtual assistants and freelancers every week and then give you immediate access to the top 1% of applicants. Check out why 10,000 plus businesses have already signed up for FreeUp. Receive a $50 credit when you sign up today at freeup.com/e-commerce masterplan. And there's 3 E's in FreeUp. So it's freeup.com/e-commerce masterplan. I'm now to introduce today's special guest. Nick Stragnell is the head of online trade and experience at UK fashion business Boden. He owns the digital customer journey and is responsible for online annual sales revenue of £670 million plus globally. Hello, Nick.
Hi, Chloe.
How are you doing?
Very well today, thank you.
Excellent. Now, I've just given our listeners a ridiculously short intro about you. But before we get deep into the world of Boden, how did you yourself get into this e-commerce game?
Well, I started out with creative agencies mostly, I guess, who needed to give their clients something online. So I worked for a while with evolving technologies, building websites from designs, etc. Moved into things like video streaming for those same sort of agencies, but eventually made my way into digital marketing and acquisition, and eventually e-commerce. I guess I found a sort of a need to be nearer to the numbers, understand the impact of my actions, that kind of thing. And in e-commerce, there's no better place for it.
They get a bit addictive, don't they, the numbers in e-commerce? Once you've kind of tasted that trackability and that data, it's quite hard to do something else, I find.
Yes, absolutely. The impact piece is really incredibly important. It's nice to be within a business and a brand where you are ultimately engaging with a human being at the other end. So the psychology absolutely plays into it, and the message and the tone of voice is incredibly important. That's how we differentiate ourselves. But just to be measurable, which we can do in the digital space, and really. A customer will tell you one thing in a survey, but actually what do they do, which is what the data tells us, which is just so important.
Oh, so true. I'm sure everyone in the UK who's listening certainly knows who Boden are, but possibly our overseas listeners are less familiar with the brand. So where in the world is Boden and where are you selling?
We're based in beautiful North Acton, West London. Actually, we've got some really amazing office space here in the UK. Our logistics hub is up in Leicester. We've got a team in Boston over in the States who look after our activities over there. And the UK and the US are definitely our largest markets and fastest growing. And about the same size now, actually. The US has caught up with the UK, and it's a huge opportunity for us to make to grow more out there. Germany's also getting bigger and growing at an incredible rate. We seem to be doing something very right for that market. Definitely Boden, the brand, and what we're doing really seems to be taking hold. Has some really good traction. There's a handful of other dedicated sites out there in the world, but taking up a much smaller share of what we do.
There's a very good style or a very brand identity, I suppose, to the product, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very British women's fashion brand, I suppose, primarily. That's certainly the women's department makes up the bulk of what we do. We're really well known for our color, our print, and sort of pattern design on our products. It's really joyful, happy kind of clothing, and that translates across children's wear as well. Obviously, we have menswear and we have a range of baby products, but it's really the thinking and the tone of voice behind our women's wear that really drives the business, and that Britishness really plays out in the other markets as well. It's not something, we're not a brand who's had to rethink our approach when we go into markets overseas. It's something we're really proud of: the heritage, the design, the quality of the product that is really playing well into the new markets. Like you say, I think our awareness is incredibly high within our target market within the UK. So it's a question of doing that job elsewhere, and it seems to be working. We're getting good traction.
And which channels are you selling via? Because I know that there's kind of the web and the mail order part. Do you have there are many Boden physical stores globally?
Actually, just a handful. So we have three of our own stores in London. A lovely new one, which is very much a kind of a flagship showcase store on the King's Road, and also we have concessions in John Lewis in the UK, and in North America it's Nordstrom's. So those are much more of an unbranded experience, but the product is there, so it's a great opportunity to get physical product in hand, I suppose. The web is roughly 97% of our sales. It's interesting being a catalog business first. I think it was quite easy for Boden to make the initial transition into selling online, into e-commerce, without the legacy of the bricks and mortar stores to deal with. But what I think is interesting then is that it's the next step. It's when you're trying to sort of turn that around and become digital first. So it's very it's a very interesting place for us to be, where we're a business that is not reliant on bricks and mortar for our everyday sales revenue, but it is a really, really important part of the mix when it comes to the experience of the brand, which we just can't do as a catalog business or a pure play e-commerce business.
There is something about that physical experience that I think is essential in many retail businesses, depending on kind of where you put your brand, or how important that is. But I think you can do it so much better with a handful of interaction points than with 100 odd stores scattered across the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's almost a shame that we don't have the opportunity to put our own staff into the department stores, where we have that kind of concession space. It's something we'd love to do more of, but it's not where our investment is. On the whole, I think there are opportunities. There are kind of event-based opportunities that are always worth exploring, but the catalog and the sites, yeah, absolutely, that's our real estate, if you like, and the stores play a really, really important that. As I say, it's an experience piece that's kind of important, and also it's something for us as a brand to actually experiment with. It's that opportunity to get face to face and get that immediate first-hand feedback from your customers.
And you talked about the web platform there. Which platform are you selling on? I'm guessing it's not WooCommerce.
No, and in fact, it's one of those sort of big change pieces for Boden at the moment. Boden have traditionally built pretty much everything in house. So we have, for the sort of 14, 15 years that Boden have been online, it's all been stuff that's been built by the teams here, which has allowed Boden to scale, arguably, as we have. But in the last sort of year and a half, this is the first time Boden have really kind of explored the opportunity and have embarked on a third-party platform. So we're in the process of, and most of the way through, a migration to Adobe Experience Manager, AEM, which is at the core of our CMS. One of the interesting choices, I suppose, that I didn't fully appreciate when I first sort of joined the process, but now I understand that it's something that's given us the ability to maintain control of. So we still have that control of it within the teams, but it's also giving us something that we can again scale and grow and take the ecom part of the business to the next level as well.
So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds, leveraging a big company's focus on developing that single piece of tech, plus your own team have got their ability to tweak and change at will.
Absolutely, and it needs to plug into everything else that we've got. It's we built a technology stack within the business to first of all support the catalog, and our products. It then takes it to the next stage and actually, plugging in something that we can use as a more kind of up to speed and efficient CMS, if you like, gives us some efficiencies. It allows us to, as I've said, scale as well, but also look at bringing in the next steps that we want to do within e-commerce space, whether that be around personalization, without actually having to develop and sort of build the strategy and the platforms every single time we go there, or we want to do something different and new. It's kind of important that we take that leap now, and get on board with a third party platform so that we can just pull a few more levers a bit more quickly, I suppose, rather than having to develop and build our own answer to it.
And we've mentioned the phrase CMS there a couple of times. Do you just want to quickly explain what that is to the audience if anyone's going, CMS, what are they talking about?
Okay, so content management system, the tool that you use to sort of build your pages. It's not the only thing, obviously, that we use within the site. We'll use a bunch of other tools and APIs. I mean, we need to feed product to the site, so there's elements of all of the pages which will be fed from other tools and databases and things like that. But fundamentally, deciding what goes where, and how we put our pages and our site and our customer journeys together, it's all done in the CMS.
And would it be fair to say, here we go, buzzword bingo coming up, guys, that this would be a headless e-commerce installation once it's up and running?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, as far as my understanding of headless goes. Yeah, absolutely. It's and that's, as I say, that's a kind of it's a comfort zone for Boden, because we have so many other pieces that we need to plug in. It's not a one size fits all platform or a self-contained platform by any means. It has allowed us to use other elements of technology, and it allows us the future scope to building out and around other pieces of technology that we have in our stack, be that our customer data platforms or any insights and intelligence we want to bring in, any bits of personalization. As I mentioned, it gives us that scope to adopt what we think is best for us and best for our customers when we get to those phases.
Excellent. And are there any kind of key pieces that you've bought into either the current platform stack or the future one? I'm thinking kind of like merchandising, reviews, those kind of services that are just essential to the way you're running the business.
Reviews is interesting. It's really important. We've brought with us what we were doing with reviews before, so Power Reviews is working for us there, and a nice opportunity with the migration to kind of revisit that. But I suppose the one key piece of technology, and this was sort of a hard piece of to find the right fit, is the search and merch tool. So we're using Bloom Reach, which effectively takes our catalog product feed, if you like, and populates our catalog and category pages within the site. Bloom Reach is really interesting in that space. It's made things a lot easier for our merchandisers to work on, product sort orders, and gives them a lot of manual control. But it also adds that element of machine learning and AI. So what that tool can learn from our customers and how they interact with product, what they're buying, what's working, what isn't, really helps to augment what the merchandising and trade team can do on the site as well. And again, it adds that ability to do things at scale, which you couldn't. You'd just be recruiting more and more and more traders to analyze the data and make changes and decisions on the website. That brings that learned element to it, and really kind of helps us again work at scale and work at speed as well.
I always think that finding the right merchandising type AI algorithm plugin for a business is one of the hardest purchases you can make. It's up there with the right back-end system and the right website system, because it's so much about finding the one that fits with what you want to do and how you want to run it. There's something out there for everyone, but it can be a little bit like a needle in the haystack finding the right software for you.
No doubt, and it's because of the integration that you have to do. It's quite difficult to try before you buy, and just going through a list of comparative features from a reseller or a vendor like that is really difficult. It's a really hard thing to evaluate. It absolutely has its own challenges too. I mean, I've talked about the merchandising side, which has no doubt made it easier. The team can be a lot more efficient, and it's also added a lot of machine learning, which in all the tests we've done definitely pays off, really helps us. On the search side, it's really interesting because it's only as good as your product data and the attributes that you have around those products. And so actually it's highlighted for us that we need to go back and do a load more work around that space, and how we are building out our product data to make the search tool work really well, because it's only as good as the data that it's searching through to give really good results to the customers. We all know how important search is, so it's actually highlighted an area that we need to do a lot more work on. But it's great because it just also means there's a load more opportunity there. So we're really happy to put the time and the resource into it.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's one thing to go, oh, we need to do this because we should, but nothing's ever going to use it. And you go, oh no, the tool's using it. we really do need to do this now. It's kind of like that extra galvanizing to make the T's be crossed and the I's be dotted, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about prioritizing. We want to give a really good experience every time somebody uses our site. And so, if search exit rates are going up, then we put more focus on it. If it's stable, then we find something else that we can put some more time in. I suppose that's one of the challenges with having your own teams is, although they're very rigorous about their approach to development and what we might be working on, it also means that it's like not having endless budget to just pay more agencies to come in and do pieces of work for you. We have exactly the same thing. We just don't have that endless resource. We can't just stack it up and do multiple things at once. So we got to be really careful about where we spend our time and effort and investment, and kind of make sure that we're putting the most impactful things at the top of the list all the time. It means that list is constantly changing as we discover new things that we want to go after. But yeah, it's the right approach. It means we get the best out of it that we can.
Yes, it can be very difficult doing that prioritization because it can be tempting just to focus on fixing weak points and problems. But then at the same time, there's some huge opportunities that should be tackled. So you're kind of looking at the worst and looking at the best. And all of a sudden you realize you've completely missed the middle. And then once you've got all those ideas, trying to whittle them down. Is there a method you've got for, identifying them or for prioritizing them? Or is it literally just a constant reevaluation process?
I guess it's looking at in sprints, if you like, however long or short they actually are. You've got teams of people within the business who need to be effectively doing the business as usual, making sure that we're trading, that we're reacting to trade, that we're not missing opportunities, and that's on a sort of a daily, weekly, fortnightly basis, if you like. But then you've got, kind of extra layers which might require deeper skills within the business. And, there you need to have some kind of roadmap. Now, it's okay for those priorities to shift, obviously based on resource availability, but also the size of the prize. It can be frustrating. I suppose this is the thing. If you dedicate development team to a project that's going to take 3 or 4 months, it does mean that they can't work on anything else during that time. So even if you found a few quick wins that might only take a sprint or two, a week or two to deliver, actually, you've got to weigh it up. Is it sensible in the long term to interrupt that? And are you pushing stuff out? We're constantly having those conversations. Everyone gets it. So I think that's important. And it's very push and pull. But ultimately there is a process, there is a system. It's all based on, the size of the prize. So things get prioritized in that way.
As in your example, well, this one will only take a day, this one will only take a week, this one will only take 2 weeks. The 3-month project might never happen if you go, well, it's a quick one. It's not just about the speed of delivery, is it? It's about everything in there. We mentioned your teams quite a bit. I'm guessing there's a fair few of them. How is it structured at Boden?
So let's sort of see. We've got Boden's a really interesting business in that because we have the legacy, the catalog side of the business, if you like, we've got a really sort of brand-led piece there, and a really massive sort of creative team who drive all of that. And that delivers to us in the e-com world. It delivers all of our stories and how we're going to go about, building collections and really communicating about the product. So that's kind of feeding to us from the one side. Then, of course, as I've mentioned, we have a lot of in-house development, and that's the kind of the history and the way that we've run things historically here at Bodens. So we have Scrum teams who are mostly in-house and working on different parts of the site or the experience or the platform or the stack at any given time. That is augmented by a couple of third parties who help us in some very specific areas, especially with the Adobe platform. As we've migrated to that, it's been really great to have some external experience and support in that area. And again, they run as independent teams, and again, given priorities and a backlog and a stack of work to approach. Of course, your kind of your ecom trading team, really where I sit with my team, we're very much in the middle of that. We've got content coming to us in a very waterfall manner from that side of the business, and the design and the brand and everything that we're going to do, and product. And then we've got very agile Scrum teams delivering enhancements and features and experiences to the website, completely agile, release by release. And our guys sit very much in the middle. So it's an interesting balancing act, but being all in the same place makes a massive difference. That has a huge impact, and I could see how we're almost this sort of central services agency right in the middle of the whole piece, and really help to sort of glue things together.
So is there anything other than those couple of Scrum teams that you've got outsourced, or is pretty much everything run in-house?
It's pretty much all in-house. I mean, literally from digital marketing all the way through, our CRM and email teams. It's all in-house. Design, copywriting, all in-house. There literally are a handful of agencies who help in very, very specific areas. So when it comes to product descriptions and outsourcing, that we will use when we have big spikes. We use an agency for that just because it's cost efficient. And actually, with the cadence that we add product, on a seasonal basis, it would be almost impossible to have, that depth of team within the business, because they just wouldn't have stuff to do, and then they'd have 1,000 things to do in the space of a few weeks. So we outsource that, obviously, to help with the flex. As I said, some very specific pieces around, data layer and analytics, making sure that we're supported in the tools that we're using. But yeah, insights team are all in-house, customer team, analysis, digital marketing, as I've said, most of our development, our trading team and resources. And that really speaks to where Boden are as a brand as well. I think that's, we don't just go out and buy and resell somebody else's product. It's all ours. It's all, we design. Somebody literally will sit across the office and they will be hand drawing, a pattern based on some inspiration or influence that they've had, which will become a product. It's a really beautiful thing to see.
Wow, thank you for taking us through that. Our listeners are running businesses that are a lot smaller than Boden, but I think it's really useful to hear how it's done in a much larger company and how there's still so much that actually is very resonant even to the smaller business. Taking everything that's going on there right now, what's the most awesome thing about what you're up to at Boden?
I'm going to sound terrible. Actually, this is the awesome thing for me is spending time doing very traditional, conversion rate optimization experiments and testing. It's the stuff I really love, but it actually, because of the migration to the new platform, it's actually a great opportunity. It's the right time to be doing this. And whenever you make a big change like that, to work at pace, you have to make a lot of decisions as you go along. You can't necessarily test every single iteration of the design or the user experience. It's kind of lovely to be going back into that, unpicking and validating a lot of the decisions that were made. And it's good old-fashioned A/B testing and getting good data and results out of it, and evolving what I suppose we delivered very much as a sort of an MVP, minimum viable sort of version of the site on the new platform, to enable us to get something up and running that we could test in and we could develop and learn on. So yeah, that's kind of the exciting stuff at the moment. I know that the buzzwords are all about hyper personalization and this kind of area that we in e-commerce we really should be thinking and focusing on it at the moment. But actually, that's all there. The strategy is evolving as we learn more about the tools that we've got. But for me, again, that's about getting everything working right that you already have, getting the basics right, and building up from the foundations. So no doubt we've got some amazing technology that we can leverage and really use for that. But actually, I think that's about taking the steps gradually and not diving headfirst into. We've got to personalize to every single individual customer and sort of use every single click and touch point that they've interacted us with as a source of data. I know we can and could move towards that, but getting things right first, making sure we've got a good experience for everyone that comes to the site. There's so much work to be doing in that space. And embarrassingly enough, I actually find that bit really, really exciting.
I don't think there's anything embarrassing about that at all. And I love the fact that you've taken the approach to that new site launch that I wish many, many more e-commerce businesses would take, which is you get the minimum viable product, the basic live, and then you test and develop and improve it along the line of what actually works. I find far too many businesses trying to create the perfect e-commerce site without a single customer ever actually having set foot in it, and then expecting it to work amazingly on day one and that they can go off and do something else. And it's so much more intuitive, so much more successful to take that step-by-step approach. So I love the fact that that's the thing that's most awesome now, and that it's so clear from the way your voice was as you were talking about it, that you're absolutely loving it.
It is absolutely a real challenge. It's because I suppose in a way it's a challenge when a team are delivering something like that, and because the stakeholders and the people who are ultimately making the decisions about what they're paying for, and really giving the big investment the go ahead. The challenge is that they've been sold, kind of the end result. They've been sold the dream, what this site could be and, what the experience could be for a customer. And it's always, real kind of cloud level stuff. When it comes to actually delivering that and making all of the millions of decisions that have to be made along the way, it's difficult to bridge the gap between the two. So the stakeholder management and what's your investment giving you on the one side, and then actually what your customers need. But to the point, getting customer feedback is really, really important, and not just the anecdotal side of things, but actually getting some data behind it, seeing what the interactions are like. That's, that customer listening kind of piece, and using tools to actually watch and review sessions and find anomalies that you need to explore. That's fascinating. We could spend our whole time just learning the psychology side of the customer and how they interact with what we're putting in front of them. You have to take that at scale as well, and you have to decide, what's a good win for maybe 65% of my customers. Let's get that right. Let's get that live. And then let's look at the remaining sort of 35% and think, right, how are we going to make this better for them? They didn't react to that development or that piece of experience that we've put in front of them. So what are we missing? What's going to get them over the line, and what's going to improve their conversion rate? But it's a never-ending list.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
Shipping and mailing from your desk has never been simpler. With SendPro Online from Pitney Bowes, it's just click, send and save for as low as $4.99 a month. Send envelopes, flats and packages right from your desk. And for being an e-commerce master plan listener, you'll receive a free 30-day trial to get started and a free £10 scale to ensure that you never overpay. Save time and money on mailing and shipping with SendPro Online. Starting at $4.99 per month, you can also qualify for special USPS rates for letters and priority mail shipping, calculate exact postage online, and do it all by printing from your PC. Go to pb.com/masterplan to access this special offer for a free 30-day trial plus a free £10 scale to get you started. That's pb.com/masterplan. Experience shipping made simple with a free trial of Send Pro Online from Pitney Bowes. Tired of posting jobs online and running into unqualified applicants? FreeUp is your solution. FreeUp interviews thousands of e-commerce freelancers each week and only allows the top 1% into their network. From Amazon to Shopify to Facebook ads to graphic design, they've got someone perfect for the role. Sign up today at freeup.com/e-commerce masterplan and get a $50 credit towards your first hire. That's freeup.com/e-commerce masterplan, and there's 3 E's in FreeUp.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. So, Nick, here's the top tips. First up, the book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
That's really easy. And actually, you'd only need to take about an hour off on Friday. It's a nice small book, and it has one very, very clear message. It's called Fish. It's a book I've bought, and I think I've given to everyone that's worked on one of my teams since I read it about 12 years ago. It takes its name from the Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle. It's a very short story about choosing your attitude, and I think it's wonderful. And I enjoy revisiting it every time I give it to a new member of my team, or I go to a new business and start working with people there. It gives them an insight into me and where I'm coming from, and I just think it's a really powerful message.
Nice. Okay, the traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
Natural, every time. Yes, working on organic search. I think fundamentally, if you put your effort there and you get it right, it just makes everything else much easier. You know, if you're really well ranked, or you're doing a good job of relevancy for organic search, then it makes your paid channels much more efficient. It helps your customers, get around and in and out of your site. So yeah, for everything, work on organic first, get it right.
Nice. The tool top tip. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day? I imagine there's hundreds of these at Boden.
Yeah, wow. We use everything, depending on the team or what's right for them. And I think that's, in a business of this size, that's actually okay. It's a good thing to use. I find myself caught in between a few. So Jira, Zoom, Slack, Yammer, Aha, Skype, a ton of emails every single day, of course. There's no getting away from that. Honestly, the best thing here at Boden is actually being in an open space and being able to get face to face with all the different teams we work with. That's so important, and it's really, really encouraged. No one has an office here. Every teams have areas and zones of the business, but fundamentally we flow in and out of all of those teams. So there's no app that's better than getting face to face with someone.
I like it. Okay, the growth top tip. If you met someone today who's focused on growing their e-commerce business from 100 orders per month to 1,000, what would be your number one tip for them?
Can I have two?
Yes, of course you can.
Okay, so of course I've stolen this. Hire good people and listen to them. But if you can't afford to hire in the talent because you're in that kind of growth phase, then another one, of course, is fail fast and learn to move on. Experimentation, as I've said, I absolutely love it. It's the thing that makes a business accelerate at a much greater pace than simply following all the rules and learnings that other people have put out there.
Yet more gold. Thank you, Nick. That's brilliant. Before we say goodbye, though, could you please let the listeners know where they can find you and your business on the web and social media, please?
Pretty easy to find Boden. That's Boden. Boden.com, .co.uk, .fr, .au, etc., etc. You will find us splashed all over social media if you don't know who we are already. But if anyone wants to reach out and ask me any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Nice and straightforward. Thank you, Nick. Nick, it's been awesome chatting to you and finding out about how the nuts and bolts of e-commerce operate at such an awesome e-commerce business. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It is massively appreciated.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
What an interesting insight there to the world of a really large retailer, and a retailer who is founded on those mail order catalogue principles and has then moved in to be huge in the online space and trading across those countries as well. I really enjoyed kind of getting to grips with how kind of the philosophy runs behind the business and what they've been doing with their new platforming and everything else that's going on there. One thing which we should have cleared up in the interview, so apologies for not doing this, is the world of Agile and Scrum teams. It's kind of a philosophy used an awful lot in the world of tech, and it's a way of getting things done fast without too much faff, basically, hence Agile. And Scrum teams are teams that come together to deliver certain projects, and sprints are the projects that they're running on. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. There is an awful lot of content out there on Agile if you want to go and find out a bit more about it. Just look at Agile Approach and you will find lots. For now, though, thank you very much for listening to the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to get the links and the notes about the episode and everything else, then head over to ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast. And if you're enjoying the show, please do share it with your e-commerce friends. However you want to do that, I don't mind, be it real world, internet world, round the open plan office. Any of those are great. It's just good to get ever more people listening, because I know from your messages and from when I see you when I'm out and about, just how much this podcast helps you in your businesses. For now, though, have a great week and keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/